Most spiders live together for the beginnings of their lives, but as they mature into adults, they disperse and live the rest of their lives in solitude. They fend for themselves when it comes to protection and food, and this typically leads to some level of aggression toward other spiders, even those of their own species. Some, as we know, go so far as to find a mate and then kill and eat it once the deed is done. There are a handful of species, less than 30 out of the 45,000 or so, that exhibit some level of social behavior. They live together in colonies beyond juvenile development. They often have some kind of social hierarchy and all work together in the nest. Being able to share responsibilities allows each spider to expend less energy on an individual basis with a more significant outcome. However, as with any kind of evolutionary adaptation, there are costs to living in a colony as well. With a larger population comes scarcity of resources, and often a hierarchy is established for who gets to eat first. Another consequence is the loss of genetic variation, without which the colony is far less able to adapt to a changing environment. Studies have been done on many of the social spider species, but little is known about the one we found at Smith's Lake. We were able to build a foundation for more in-depth studies into these unique spiders. More research would allow a deeper understanding of the evolutionary effects of colony living, especially when it comes to the genetic relatedness of each colony, as well as their social hierarchy and how they catch prey. The spiders we found at Smith's Lake live in hundreds of different colonies on the same tree, all of varying sizes from relatively small, containing fewer to 20 individuals, to absolutely massive, likely home to hundreds. We were able to take a few nests down from the tree, open them up, and study their contents. What we found was not really what anyone expected. There is one primary species of spider in the nest, later identified with relative certainty as Ankylosing prachetti, but it wasn't the only species there. We found individuals of at least 4 or 5 different species, also living in some of the nests. One was a mother hidden inside a curled leaf raising her babies. Some were huge, others were tiny. It's likely that these spiders were living in a sort of commensalism, bordering on parasitism, where they were able to reap the benefits of living in the colony without having to give back or contribute to the whole. Once we determined that these spiders were at least semi-social creatures, we began wondering more about their lifestyle and behaviors. How territorial are they for their own colony? How do they respond to members of other colonies, even in a neutral space? Many other questions would have required genetic testing and resources outside the ones available to us, but we did what we could with what we had. We could learn what was inside the colonies and how each of the spiders all interacted with each other. We first quantified the demographics of a handful of the colonies, careful to maintain a small sample size so as not to disrupt the already small population. We determined that there was a fairly equal split in each colony between male and female, juvenile and adult. After determining the sex and relative ages of all the individuals, my group began studying how they interact. The first night, we collected 3 adult males and 3 adult females, marked them with paint, and put them into 2 existing colonies on the tree to find out if they would be accepted or exiled or even eaten by the spiders that lived there. The next morning, we took apart both colonies and found all but one of the spiders that we had placed there the night before, living alongside all the rest of the original members. This was the first clue that the spiders aren't territorial regarding their own habitat and that they accept members of other colonies into their own. In order to preserve the limited number of nests left on the tree, we then conducted our own experiments in the lab using petri dishes and leaves. To study inter-colony interactions, we combined males and females from different colonies into petri dishes for about 24 hours. We found that they showed no specific preference from their original colony, nor did they show any aggression toward the others. They seemed to colonize indiscriminately. This trial was run 5 times, all with the same statistical results. The spiders didn't care where the other spiders came from. They would form a colony with anyone. While we were limited in time and resources, we were able to conclude that these little guys are truly unique. For the first time, their behavioral patterns have been qualitatively analyzed, allowing for further study to determine the finer points of their colonial interactions. With further study into Ankylosing prachetti, we would be able to get a deeper look into the larger costs and benefits of living in a colony, as well as a greater understanding of how organisms have evolved to work together and thrive in a communal environment.